Hey y'all, welcome back. Dude here, and this is the second of a three-part series where I discuss how I make music. In the first part, I talked about music theory and how I put together songs. In this part, I'm going to talk about how I build tracks. And in the third part, I'm going to talk about how I mix them together and like what I'm trying to do with that. Without any further ado, let's get right down to it. First of all, now listen, I want to start with a disclaimer that this is only my way of doing it. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. In fact, I watched a video recently on TikTok about a person starting with the melody first. Like they wrote a melody and then built everything else around that. And that's cool for you. If that's how you write music, then awesome, great. Me, that's not my process, or at least it's not when I'm building tracks. Like, so for Dude in the Missing Rugs, because it's two guitars, bass, and drums, and sometimes keyboards or synths, because I'm building all of that one thing at a time, one piece at a time, I start with drums because I feel like that's like the easiest way to do it, because then I can keep everything else on the beat. And I don't love the metronome. I prefer to not use one. I like the natural feel, and I also don't quantize drums because I like mistakes, and I've talked about that a lot in the past about how part of what I liked most about Nirvana's Unplugged is when you can hear the guitar feeding back, not on purpose, right? And I like the sort of authenticity of music, and that trying to do things in one or two takes, that means that things aren't going to be perfect, and I just don't have time because I make music on the weekends and at nights. I don't have time for things to be perfect, and frankly, I don't love music that is perfect, right? I like some pop music that is really tight, and I like old Graham Central Station and Larry Graham, and old James Brown is really tight and, really musically pretty much more close to perfect than what I'm doing. Not that I don't appreciate that, but it's not what I want to make. And eventually I think I'll find an audience if I just keep making it. Like Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. I'm just going to keep doing my stuff, and hopefully somebody will like it. So anyway, the first thing that I do when I'm recording this stuff is that I will lay down a drum track, and I've talked before about my setup. I only have one mic right now, so I try to put it in. I have a 3-piece kit, so like just a bass drum, snare, and a hi-hat. And I try to put it as close to the middle as I can get to try to get all of the mix in there as I can. If I had a second mic, I would do things differently, but I don't. So that's just how I do it. And then I will lay down a bass line on top of that, and I go back and forth because sometimes I like to make really funky bass lines and like intricate stuff and try to change it up. But then other times it seems like it's easier if you just keep a really simple groove, just play a couple of play the root note of the chord progression that you're going to use. So if we're talking last time about 2-5-1 and you were going to do the key of C, that would be D minor, G, and C, and that's what the bass would play, and just those notes, or like things in those notes in those keys, right? And then once you have that, then I lay down the two guitars. I have one guitar. I have an Epiphone vintage Les Paul that's got humbucking pickups, and I have a Fender Stratocaster that's got single coil pickups, and so I will put it does, and I alternate between which goes where, but I'll play one solo line on the Epiphone in the left ear, and I'll play that on maybe the 5 chord, and then in the or the 4 chord, which if we're talking about the key of G again, that would be the C. And then in the other ear, I would have the 5th of the root. So again, if we're in, okay, so I'm sorry to mix it up. If we're in the key of C, then the 4 would be a F, and the 5 would be a G. So the bass is doing stuff in the key of C, D minor, G, and C. Those are the chords, right? And then this guitar will be doing F, and this one will be doing G. And it'll create some tension there, and tension and release, because the 4 chords resolves to the 5. And just by noodling, you can like artificially create some tension and use whatever scale that you want. I won't tell you which one I use. I'll leave a little tiny bit of secret sauce. Not that it would be super hard for anybody to figure out, but you pick your favorite scale, right? And then use that and just try to find licks and find stuff that sounds good. And just, sometimes I find that even something as simple as like trying to play with attitude, like putting a little snarl on, will make me play differently. And I can definitely back it up because I've seen videos where people try to play with like the stank face. You get a real stank face going before you lay down a line, and the same line but played once with stank face and one without it, and the stank face one is just funkier. And I don't know what the science is of the funk. I just know that you can see it and hear it. So I say all that to say that like I don't think it really super matters what you play as much as it's important that you have a bad attitude when you're playing it, right? And I don't mean like a bad attitude, but I mean like kind of like, I just don't know how to describe it if that doesn't if playing with a bad attitude doesn't track, then I can't explain it. But yeah, so musically that's how I put it together. That's how I stack it. And then I started I've chatting with somebody about working on putting together lyrics so that future dude releases like after next month will have words in it. And I've got a lot of tracks that are like I've recorded all the parts for them, and they just need lyrics. And I've also recorded a bunch of what I call TikTok songs. So there's songs that are like 59 seconds or less. And all the parts are tracked, and I got like 20 or I have over 20 of those that are like, they're all tracked, and I got to mix them, or like mix them better from what I've learned about mixing. And then I'm collaborating with somebody to write lyrics. So yeah, so that's what's going on in the future for Dude. I also have an announcement that it's convenient that I missed yesterday, because today the latest single drops, which is called the Bruise Cruise, which, if you see my TikTok or this channel, is about Bruiser. I thought it would be really convenient to have a song for when I'm not really feeling like making a TikTok, but I've got a lot of footage of Bruiser just doing stuff that's cute. So I can put on this song that's called the Bruise Cruise, and then I'm playing songs from, Dude on my channel, on my TikTok channel, and, getting plays for it. And that's, and that's cool. So yeah, if you want to check out the new single, you can check it out everywhere except Amazon, because I won't go into why, but I don't want my art on Amazon if I can avoid it. And that's pretty much it for this week. So next week I'm going to share. Okay, so one thing real quick. I have got this like secret project that I haven't been really talking about very much. I've been keeping it really hush hush, and I'm going to keep it hush for a while longer still. But in this project, I have been doing and making way more music more frequently. So I'm doing almost exclusively these like I mentioned, the TikTok songs, the 59-second, like really fast songs. I've been doing a bunch of those. I have finished like 10 of those. So the more of those that I've finished, I have to mix them all. And so I've had a lot more experience just doing mixing, and like I had never done it before. I didn't really do it very much in GarageBand, and you can tell from like listening to the early Dude songs like Jam and stuff off that first EP. You can hear I didn't really like, that was all GarageBand. I didn't really know very much about mixing or how to like get a better, sound out of all that stuff. But I'm learning more about how to do that and make it sound better. So in the next video, I'm going to share what I've learned in that process of making 10 songs in a week or so. And I'm going to share what I've learned about mixing and how I do it. And And I will, and like I said, started with this video, like I don't really know what I'm doing. I've mixed, you know, maybe 20 or 30 songs total. So I really don't know what I'm doing, but I know more than I did when I very first started. So I'm going to share that knowledge with you, just like I have been with the other stuff that I've learned so far. And hopefully you'll find some value from it. And, you know, at the time of this recording, I've done 10 songs, but I'll be interested to see how much I'll be able to do in the next week. Hopefully at least that many. That would be good. I'd like to do one a day if I average one a day. But just by virtue of doing a bunch of those songs, I'm learning about mixing and how to make stuff sound good, and how to use different effects that I definitely didn't get into outside of just like, you know, really. For the first ones, I only used like the stock. I either recorded amps or my amps, which is I have an orange Crush RT or Crush 20 amp, and then a Fender bass amp. I didn't use any like plugins, or I didn't add anything to any or put any effects on any of the instruments like after. I didn't know very much. So I will share what I've learned about mixing in the next video, and hopefully you can find some value from it. And I'll also mention that it'll very likely be short because I don't know a ton of stuff about it, so it'll be short. And then after that, I'll get back into the series about sharing the influential artists, and you know, that, you know, where I talk about artists that influence me and the music that I make and that I think are really important, and then to just talk about them because you know, I studied history in college and then grad school, and it's fun to deep dive on artists and find information that, you know, maybe you don't want to watch an entire documentary on, like, let's say George Clinton, for example, because that's I think a video that I've already done. Maybe you don't want to watch an entire video about documentary, 2 hours about George Clinton, but I've seen a couple, so I know a few interesting tidbits about how he did things, and so rather than you go through all that, I'll do it and then I'll share it with you, and then I don't have to bug my wife with things that she's not really interested in. So yeah, next week we'll talk about mixing. The week after that, I'll pick up my series on artists that have influenced me. And I don't know who I'm going to talk about yet, but we'll figure it out as we go along. So hopefully you liked this video. Hopefully you are interested and want to check out the latest Dude in the Missing Rug single, which again is called the Bruise Cruise. You can find that anywhere except Apple. Or I'm sorry, you can find it on Apple. You can't find it on Amazon. And then last but not least, I hope you have a very nice day and a most excellent week. Cheers.